'93, and conditions weren't that great back then, and the Elmers just weren't really about helping much because conditions weren't that great, right? So there just wasn't a whole lot going on. So from '93 to about 2007, I used a lot of VHF in work and stuff, and maybe hit some repeaters every now and then. But I never got on the air, and then some Elmers up north. Started rekindling the ham radio environment up in Republic and Ferry County, and I helped them put in a repeater and stuff. And next thing you know, I'm upgraded to general and was finally playing HF. But conditions have never been like this that I'm aware of. You know, my time on the air and even paying attention through the 90s and early 2000s, there was a little bit of a spike, but it really seems like we're getting ready to have one of those eras where you can just throw a coat hanger out the window and make a contact on 10. Over.
Yeah, it gets really great when it gets going there. I used to have a 10-meter mobile, ran 10 watts, and I was working into Europe with that before I'd go to work in the afternoon there. So you never know. I'd have them calling me there. It can really get really hot, unbelievable at times there, Sean. Well, great to hear you up here. And yeah, we got a nice 2-meter system here for country area there. We can talk from almost Sioux City, Iowa, on up the river here, probably 300 miles. We got 4 repeaters hooked up now, and with a VHF and UHF links there. So not doing too bad for a little tiny country club there. Go ahead.
Well, not at all. Yeah, it's nice to know you can link up there and have that communication possible. If you don't mind me asking you there, Everett, what got you interested in radio as a child? Over.
Oh, the old man did. My old man was he was not a success, but he had a lot of intelligence there and could train himself to do things. And he'd tell me stories about being up in the farmhouse and listening to crystal radio sets and the things he heard on that really got me wound up. And then Grandpa, his dad, gave me an old Zenith and started shortwave listening to Radio Moscow and all that great stuff back then. And really got hooked there. Over.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I've still listened to shortwave and it's a lot of Radio Australia lately on 40 meter late at night, early in the morning. They're just come booming into my state, anywhere in Washington. Really, it's like they're local. Hey, do you have a favorite mode? What's your favorite mode?
Favorite ham band?
I would say your mode. What like CW, sideband? What's your favorite mode? Over.
Oh, I'm like my old man. Yeah, kind of weird. I do sideband, CW, JT8, JT65, PSK, slow scan. I tinker around at a lot of it. My big enjoyment is finding something new and hooking it all up and working it a little there. Over.
Well, Everett, we share that. I'm a ham. That's how I'd like to put the answer with that setup there. Yeah, I do the same. PSK 31 was one of my first digital mode introduction. Well, Hellscriber was the first one, and I really like Hellscriber for no apparent reasoning. But anyhow, digital modes are really fun for checking propagation for sure. I got hooked on FT8 a little bit there just because it's almost like crack, and boy, oh boy, that's where a lot of the DX is. And then I've just started playing around with the spotting networks and getting motivated for CW work just to get a little bit active and get some more calls there in the log. And you mentioned slow scan television. I enjoy slow scan TV. I couldn't tell you why or how, but it still has that same magic, I would imagine, that it was to a kid that were, back in the radio only era type almost, right, where you were If you were sending those slow scan TVs, the only other thing it could compete with was television itself there, and how neat that would be. I'm curious there, Everett, if you were standing in front of a room of new amateur radio operators, so a couple techs and generals, they just got their upgrade or their license, do you have any advice you'd give to new hams today, over?
Oh, I'd say from what I've seen around, the best advice a guy could probably give them, these days everything is pretty well commercial, but get out of the shack and go string up all kinds of weird antennas. I have a great time doing that. I got 7 or 8 of them strung around my little city lot here, doing all kinds of weird things. And I put them up and use them and take them down and find a better one and never give up on the antenna work. And that'll get you out farther than most anything else anyway.
Boy, isn't that the truth? That's great advice. That was really good advice. Get yourself out there and play with some antennas. I would love to hear stories of experiments out there. I've always thought the best use for your SWR, what do they call it, antenna analyzer, the best use for an antenna analyzer is seeing if something unusual would tune to a frequency there, over.
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't even have one of those, but mostly I use other guys' ideas and that sort of thing. Run a delta loop on 6 meters here and another one on 17. They are very nice antennas, and being a loop, they run a little bit quieter too. Over.
Oh, I can imagine. A lot of people are using loops anymore. You know, you mentioned other people's ideas. It's like that hex beam. Everybody's hoorahing that thing, and it's gone from multiple decades of being the hoorah antenna. I found a book from the 50s, and they called it a clothesline antenna. That's literally what they called that thing. Hey, you know, I've got just another question. If I could get the answer out of you, it would make my day there, Everett. If you could finish the sentence for me, man, the future of ham radio is, question mark. What do you think the future of ham radio is these days, over?
Boy, that is a tough question there. It's going all kinds of different directions. If you're going to have a future, of course, you know, you got to get people interested in it. And kind of as you diversify, though, and do all these different things we can do these days, it's a little bit harder to get a listening audience. Some will like one thing, some will like another, and I think it kind of holds people off a little bit there. But I don't know. I'm not very good at analyzing stuff like that. So there you go, Sean. Go ahead.
That was a great answer to that question, Everett, in all reality. And you know, it's a matter of, I think us as amateurs, we have that loner tinkerer to ourselves, and there's a whole multitude of generations of people. I'm just going to say it. They've had their handheld growing up, so they don't really know where the comfort level is to take off on their own and experiment stuff. I noticed through this social media and stuff, there's way more how do I, can I, will it, does it, show me it works before we go try to do it ourselves. And I think that's a big thing lost. You did mention something very valuable, though. It's being able to mix the different aspects and modes and different things people are familiar with and unfamiliar with to make it work. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do the best I can here with amateur radio and the video technology and utilizing spotting networks and introducing it to people the way I do. I appreciate your patience taking the time with me just to answer those questions. Everett, over?
Oh, that's fine. There's no problem there. N0AIE returning. And another thing too, there's a lot of money involved these days if you go up for big stations. And you kind of got to tell new people, well, you don't really need all that. And some of the best contacts you'll ever remember are ones you can barely hear each other on. Over.
Boy, isn't that the truth? And some new aspect in having it. I mean, I can remember my first slow scan signal being picked up by some other spotter's little linked up system, and I could see, oh, there's my picture across, just the confirmation of that. We'll see what happens with it. I think you've got the right idea about having to not only bring in new hams, but try to figure out how to introduce this stuff to them. And we are always moving forward, right? That JS8 and FT8 and some of those modes have really picked up. I can only imagine where digital modes are going to go from here. There's not a whole much more that can be done, do you think? Over?
Oh, don't sell us short there. These guys can figure out some wacky stuff and get it cranked up there. Yeah, that's what I was thinking before they come out with excuse me, the PSK even. Well, there's nothing else they can do here. We got voice, we got code, we got teletype, and what else can they do? And then now they've almost got a whole new hobby going.
No kidding. This is November 7, Echo Charlie Victor talking shack with N0 Alpha India Echo there in Everett. Boy, it's you've got that right. Something new comes out of the woodwork. I mean, look at this. The latest Fandango came from Princeton, of all places, man. So who knows what the next step could be? And then everybody, of course, is always putting their own touch and take on things. Well, the band shifted a little bit, but you held strong the whole way, sir. Over?
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, you're up and down a little bit. That's normal here on 15, especially, well, even when it gets good, it's kind of an unsettled kind of a band there. But, yeah, hey, I got to work that guy in Princeton one day on, I think it was JT65 for Kim. And, you know the old antenna, G5RV? I got to talk to Louis Varney over there in England. I'm sure he's passed on now, but that was great. Talk to him. He invented that thing. So as long as you're in here, you get to do things you never seem to forget them there. As long as the brain cells hold out there, Sean. N0AIE. N0AIE. Nice to meet you there, and you have a good afternoon.
All right, Everett, it's been my pleasure. Amateur radio is a two-way street, so it's very hard to do this without you guys, and I appreciate you taking the moment and having the patience to hang out with me for a few minutes. Great conversation on this end. Been a pleasure, and look forward to catching you maybe on 10. That'd be kind of neat, too. Have a great afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the log. N0AIE. Tie the ribbons on it, OM. Have a great day.
Oh, thank you, Sean. 7-3 now.
7-3 is November 7, Echo Charlie Victor. CQ, CQ, CQ. Here is Norway 7, Echo Charlie Victor.